Today, we're going to be talking about emotional control, nervous system regulation, and really how to control your response when pressure shows up. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man YouTube channel. And today, I'm going to share with you guys one of my inner circle live coaching calls. And it's usually just for guys that are inside my group, but I figured I'd record this one and show guys what we do inside the inner circle, what the calls are about. It's not just workouts and it's not just motivation, but it's real conversations about real things that we as men deal with and are trying to get better at, right? So today we're going to be talking about emotional control, nervous system regulation, and really how to control your response when pressure shows up. Because guys don't fall apart based off of one thing in their life, right? They slowly lose control through stress, frustration, fatigue, being overloaded. And a lot of times we're just reacting to what's happening around us, right? And so one of the things that you want to be able to do is to regulate yourself, right? Because if you don't, then you're allowing all the pressure and those situations make decisions for you, right? So it doesn't matter if you're at work, family, business, training, conflict, leadership, stuff matters, right? And so this is what we're doing inside the inner circle. I've also just launched a 12-week strength and conditioning program called The Standard. And it's built for busy men who want to feel athletic and capable. Maybe you had a strong structure in the past. Maybe you were on a team or military or firefighter, whatever it is, but you got away from it. We recommend that you check it out. Okay. So let's talk about the live coaching call, right? Or what we usually do. Okay, so I'll share my screen with you guys. All right, so this week we're talking about control the response, right? Training your calm under pressure. So why does this matter, right? Well, we all have pressure and stresses in our life, right? Whether it's at work, with the family, our finances, time, emotional pressure, whatever it is, right? And the question isn't really how do we avoid it, right? It's how do we deal with it, right? What version of me shows up when I am actually feeling pressure, right? Because pressure, stress, whatever you want to call it, right? It reveals patterns or reactions, right? Some guys will escalate things. Some guys will shut down. Some guys will react emotionally. You know, when you're stressed, you can't think clearly, right? And they'll spread stress to everyone around them, right? Other men, they stay steady, right? And that steadiness, personality, okay? It's not just like something you're born with. It's training. I mean, some guys might be born that way where they're just cool, calm, collected, but a lot of times it's based on what they've gone through in life and they've learned how to cope with stress. And the goal is not no stress, right? We're not saying that we're never going to have stress or we're never going to feel stress. It's how we're going to deal with it, right? We're not trying to become robots where we don't feel anything. You're trying to become regulated, clear-headed, intentional, and controlled when you are feeling that stress, right? Because a calm man still feels the pressure. He just doesn't let it drive the vehicle, right? We're not letting stress and our reactions dictate how everything is going, right? And our nervous system is there to protect us, right? It's there to keep us alive, right? When stress hits, your heart rate rises, your breathing shortens, muscles tighten, your thinking narrows, and your tone changes. That's useful in danger, but not always useful for everyday life or especially in leadership, right? We don't want to have tunnel vision. We want to be able to think clearly, right? Having our breath be calm because that allows us to think better, think more clearly, and react or respond in a better situation. Guys, they don't notice the activation early enough, right? And you may have noticed or might not have noticed, but sometimes you might be driving and you're thinking about something and all of a sudden you've got this shallow breathing inside your chest, right? That's stress starting to accumulate. Or you might be having an argument with your significant other or somebody else, or they might be saying something you might not like, but your breathing will change, right? Your voice starts to get elevated. Maybe your patience is gone. Maybe your emotions are starting to dictate the situation, or your decisions are, right? The reaction has already started. Well, you got to become aware of that stuff first, right? Become aware of the tight breathing, become aware of the short responses, maybe the tension in the jaw, irritation, rushing, the mental speeding up, right? These are all signals telling you that, like, okay, something's going on. It's starting to hit me. What do I need to do? Right. And 9 times out of 10, just taking a few breaths will help clear everything up. Right. Breath control equals state control. Right. What's my physical state like? And your breathing changes your state faster than your thoughts do. Right. Fast breathing tells the body, hey, man, something's going on. Controlled breathing tells the body, like, hey, I'm okay. Stay clear. I can think clearly, right? And a simple breath reset is something that you can use anywhere, right? Whether it's meetings, conflict, training, traffic, stress. I mean, I do it all the time. Many times when I'm driving, a lot of times when I'm on a call or right before a call, a coaching call, sometimes in workouts, right? So basically, it's just inhale, low and slow, and exhale, right? So inhale through the nose, exhale, right? And you can do that for 3 to 5 cycles, right? Just doing that breath right there, I could feel everything just kind of calm down and everything slow down. You probably noticed a change in my voice, and it's just a deep breath, right? And if you do 3 to 5 of those, you're going to noticeably feel a difference in the way you're thinking and just the way your physical state feels, right? So think of it like downshifting a truck, right? If you're going to bomb downhill in the wrong gear, everything's going to overheat, right? Even those braking pads, right? They're going to overheat. Breathing is your downshift, right? It slows the whole system down before it spirals out of control. And most men or a lot of guys will wait till they're emotionally overheated, make some bad decisions, and then try to fix it, right? You want to train yourself to shift earlier, right? To down regulate before those bad decisions happen or decisions that you might regret happen, right? And your language also helps change your emotional state, right? The words that I'm thinking in my head, maybe I'm not saying them out loud, but if I'm thinking certain things, it's going to create that feeling or that emotion inside of me, right? So the words we use in our head, whether they're spoken or not spoken, a huge difference, right? If I'm thinking in my head like this is a disaster, right? What kind of feeling is that going to produce, right? If I'm thinking versus if I'm thinking this is frustrating, but it's manageable, it's going to create a totally different feeling, right? If I'm thinking I'm overwhelmed, it's definitely going to create a feeling of being overwhelmed, as stressed, right? And language either escalates pressure or it organizes it, right? So if you watched my podcast with Mark England, who has the Unlifted coaching, he talks about breathing and he talks about language. These are two things that can help regulate your mindset. And your mindset is just basically the story that you're telling yourself, right? And so, how do we fix that? How do we become more aware of the stories that we're telling ourselves, right? It's by becoming aware, right? And when you are calm and when you are in that calm state of mind, right, it affects people around you, right? And you've seen this before, right? If somebody walks into a room and they're all stressed out, everybody feels it, right? And the opposite is true. If everybody's stressed out and a calm person walks into a situation, that same situation, it helps spread to other people, right? A controlled tone will build trust. It'll stabilize all of that pressure and that stress, and it'll help keep people thinking clearly, right? And leadership is emotional regulation that is transferred to other people. The leaders that are not calm, they don't last, right? They get fired and they get replaced with other people that can think better in those types of situations, right? But all of us going to war, right? We all have our own, whatever you want to call like little wars in everyday life, right? And it could be work, it could be home, it could be even in your training sessions, right? So some scenarios that you can think about is at work, if you have a deadline and maybe that deadline gets moved up, right? People panic, everyone starts reacting emotionally, right? Well, the calm leader is going to be able to slow the room down, clarify, okay, can't do anything about the deadline, it's moved up. What's the next thing we got to do? What's the priority, right? Control the tone and then move deliberately, right? Bang out whatever it is, whatever the right next thing is, work on that until you get it done, right? At home, maybe you've had a long day, you're tired, your patience is low, right? And some kind of argument starts at home, right? An automatic reaction might be like, might be frustration, withdrawal, a sharp tone. I mean, I had this morning, right? Like I was tired and the house was kind of a little bit disorganized. And we were talking about the garage and, we need to be able to park in the garage. And, we got one vehicle in there, but not two vehicles. But anyways, long story short, just like about moving things and making space, right? And I noticed myself getting amped up. So I went upstairs, took some deep breaths, let it go, and, we'll work through it, right? And so I could have snapped, I could have yelled, I could have done all these things, but would that have been productive in the long run? No, right? And nothing would have gotten done, right? So automatic reactions might be frustration, withdrawal, sharp tone. A controlled response is noticing that activation, right? Maybe lowering your voice and then a pause before speaking, right? Training, you might be tired and the conditioning gets hard and your breathing is starting to get away from you or get chaotic, right? A lot of guys will panic and try to finish the workout super fast or worse, like they'll just completely back off, right? Well, if you've trained enough and you've worked on this, you can learn to control your breathing. You can regulate your pace where you're pushing but not pushing. You can anticipate when the training is going to get hard so it doesn't just surprise you. You can recover quicker. You can stay composed when that burning feeling or that fatigue starts to set in, right? Right. So what you guys to think about this week is that week is about learning or becoming aware of triggers that might stress you out, and then practicing your breath control daily, right? Slow your response before speaking, catch any kind of escalation of nerves, of emotions earlier, right? And then focus on composure during training or during those hard arguments, right? And if you want, you can post like this week, I controlled the response doing this, whatever it is. But the reality is that anybody can stay calm when life is easy. Okay. The real question is, who are you when pressure or stress or the shit hits the fan? Like, who are you when that happens? Right? Pressure isn't the enemy, right? Losing control under pressure is, right? So train your breath, slow the reaction, your response. And that is emotional authority. Gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit me up with any questions. Subscribe if you see this on YouTube, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this.